Today I'm going to tell you about something brand new that we just picked up. We've actually been selling it for the past year, I think, but only certain reps could sell it. And the reason why is because we were actually testing this behind the scenes, and it was only with reps that sell a lot of hair extensions. So in case you didn't already know, we're no longer carrying Mob hair extensions or Alinea. And so this is a brand that we picked up in hopes of replacing those two brands. And it's turned out that it's probably the highest quality hair extension brand that you can actually buy. The one thing about it is they do not sell to the general public. They only sell to stylists. And this brand is really special because of the quality of hair that you have. I want you to watch this next clip, which was taken from our private Zoom meeting, which was directed to the sales reps in our company that are actually going to be selling this. You're not going to see any pricing, but you're going to hear a lot of good inside information on what to look for in hair extensions and why you should buy Beauvoir hair extension. If you're interested in learning more about it, or if you want the link to my special private page on this, message me and I'll get that to you if you're one of my customers. So take a look at this next clip.
We're Beauvoir, and what sets us apart is mainly the way that we source and collect hair. That's what formerly set us apart. Now there's a few other things that set us apart, but we'll start with this. Traditional extensions, it's a very third world process. The hair is, pretty much 99% of the hair on the American market is what we call floor hair. So that's hair that's collected from the floor of a salon or even an individual's bathroom. There's a primary market where people collect hair. And this is kind of how it looks. And generally speaking, when you go to one of these factories, you'll see pallets with 4 big garbage bags on them, and they have just random hair. And there's no indication of the age and health of the donors. There's no indication of the direction of the strands. There's no indication of the color of the hair. There's no indication of the health of the hair. It's just presumably all human hair. So then workers take it and they run it through these weird third world nail things. And then they grab it by the handful and they put it through this planing machine that forcibly presses the cuticles into alignment. It's important that the cuticles are aligned because if they're not, there's going to be friction between the strands of hair, which causes tangling. So they run it through this planer that presses the cuticles into alignment. The problem with this is that approximately half the cuticles will be facing the right direction. Those cuticles are going to get compressed by this planing machine. And the problem with that is about 3 weeks after the user wears the hair, washes it and sleeps on it, the hair is going to decompress and it changes the profile of the hair. It gets frizzy. The other half of the cuticles are facing the wrong way. So picture putting a Christmas tree through a wood chipper backwards. This is basically what they're doing. And it shreds the cuticle. So then they have to put silicone on the hair to mask the damage that they've committed during manufacturing. And the issue with this is the silicone coating, it makes the hair feel very nice when you take it out of the box, but it represents about 10% the weight of a weft. It doesn't matter if it's machine weft, Genius, K-tip, whatever, tape in. 10% of the weight of that hair is actually silicone coating, which is very inexpensive for the hair manufacturer, but it's bad value for your client and their client because once they wash the hair a few times, the silicone is going to go away, and what's left is damaged hair. And in addition to that, let's say your client bought a 24-inch machine weft and they're expecting to get 170 grams of hair. And let's say they paid $600 for that. They're actually only getting 153 grams of hair, 17 grams of silicone, of which they paid $60 for. So it's bad value. But this is how it's done. So we changed it up a little bit. We only buy hair. We're on the right side of the screen here. We only buy hair from the top 10% healthiest donors. And I toyed with the notion of doing top 1%, but it wasn't scalable, and we couldn't do what we call single donor virgin, where all the hair on a weft comes from one donor. So 10% is optimum, 5% is not necessarily scalable, 10% is the best optimum, but nobody else on the market globally even comes close to that spec. So we source the hair ourselves. So we don't rely on the factory to source the hair. So here we are. This is a blonde hair. Notice the hair is braided. So we braid the hair while it's still on the donor's head, and we cut off the braids. We do this so that the cuticle direction is evident. So we don't have to put our hair through the press. So after we cut the hair off, we put it into Ziplocs and we label the Ziploc, and the Ziplocs go into bins, and we send bins to the factory, and they receive the hair in these bins in a very organized fashion. So Anyways, you can see here, this hair came from Montenegro. We know her name, her age. We know where she's from. We know the average strand diameter is 66 micrometers. We know the moisture content's 14%. We know the pH level's 5. We know the tensile strength's 127 megapascals because we measured it with a Newton meter. And we know the porosity level is low to medium, which indicates that the cuticles are closed. So that indicates that this is healthy hair. And we know based on these specs that this is top 10% healthiest hair in the world. Okay. So this is the difference between us and everybody else is we have detailed information on every batch of hair that comes into our system. So we know that we're dealing with the best hair. Okay. So this is how we started. And this was really our main concern was, hey, we have to have the very best hair. But what we learned is this is 1/3, maybe half of the equation, but there's more to it. The color has to be consistent and perfect every time. It can't be too warm. It can't be too cool. It can't have weird dimensions, and it has to be consistent. So coloring is extremely important. And the third element of hair extension is wefting. The wefting has to be perfect. So I'm talking a Genius Weft, which is a polyurethane weft. It needs to be cured properly, right? So they have to control the humidity in the factory to make sure that the polyurethane is going to cure properly. With the machine weft, they have to make sure that it's woven properly. With K-tips, they have to make sure that they use the right K-tip polymer tip. And so there's about 5 different grades of K-tip polymer tip. We use the very best one. The polymer comes from Switzerland. So anyways, there's a bunch of details that go into people's hair. One thing that I hope to communicate through this presentation, and one of the main difference between us and Bellamy, for example, is we don't have shareholders, right? So we don't need to have this insane profit margin so that our shareholders can wet their beak. And frankly, the CEO of Bellamy, and I'm not sure who it is, but their main concern is satisfying their shareholders, frankly, at the expense of your customers, because they need to sell them the lowest acceptable quality of hair for the maximum amount of profit so their shareholders can get paid. That's the problem with this system. We don't have any shareholders. So we're coming at it from a totally different angle where we're trying to find the absolute highest quality hair that we can sell and still run a viable business. So we're coming at it from a totally different direction. And based on value for your clients, nobody touches us. We're the best value in the world, period.
What goes into that? So it's strand density, pH, moisture content. Those are the things that you guys
These are the
are
specs that will make up that we measure to determine hair health. Okay. So average strand diameter, we're looking between 60 and 70 micrometers.
okay.
Okay. So this hair is 66. So it's perfect. It's right in the middle. Moisture content, we're looking between like about 12 and 17%. So again, this is right in the middle. It's perfect. pH level 5, that's totally like neutral. Tensile strength, we're looking between 120 and 130 megapascals. So that's basically like how strong is the hair? How much can you pull it before it's going to snap? And that's a very strong indication of hair health. And porosity level shows so the cuticles can open and close, right? So they're kind of like shingles on top of the hair. So low to medium porosity shows that the cuticles are closed. Are more closed than open, and that's an indication of healthy hair. If the cuticles are open, that is an indication of dry hair. And we'd see a lot of these other specs change. Like, for example, the moisture content would probably be like below 10% if the cuticles were open, because that means none of the moisture can be retained and none of the nutrients can be retained by the cuticles. So the cuticles are going to hold the nutrients and moisture close to the tress, which is basically the bone of a piece of hair. So those are kind of the details of, and just further along in the presentation, I'm going to show you guys a picture under a microscope of what a closed cuticle looks like and what an open one or a ruffled cuticle looks like, so you can have some kind of idea of how this looks.
A question in the chat is, does each extension come with these specs, or is this kind of more for your guys' like standards?
It's more for collection. We don't have it like the amount of hair that we send out, and not all of our hair is single donor virgin. So for the single donor virgin hair, where all the hair on one weft comes from one person, we could manage the information. But because we have 50-50 professional grade, which is 50% single donor virgin, 50% the best Remy cuticle we can find, we don't have a system in place for there's many different donors going into that hair. So we don't have a collection system for that. But if somebody wants to order single donor virgin, yeah, we could probably provide all the specs if they wanted to go there. But this is mainly for when we buy the hair, right?
Right.
And then we get the hair sent to the factory for wefting. Okay, so traditional extensions versus Beauvoir approach. Like I said, hair is sourced from various donors through inconsistent collection methods with no detailed information available of age, health, cuticle direction of hair. So they basically have no idea what kind of hair they're getting. They're just getting hair. Like there's no grade to it. It's just let's get 100 kilograms of human hair, and then they process it. It's kind of like making hot dogs, where you get as much random protein as you can, and you process it into this uniform thing. It's pretty much exactly the same process. So we see cuticle directions unknown. They got to put it through the planer, but it damages the hair. So you can see here for us, we're a little bit significantly more meticulous on how we collect hair. So we know the cuticle direction, we preserve it, and we don't need to wreck it in the planer. So here we go. This is actually, so here's one of our the leading company in this space. This is their hair under the microscope, and you can see the cuticles are ruffled. And this is brand new right out of the box. So what this means is the hair is arriving on the customer's head pre-damaged. So there's just not as much life left in this hair. And what does that mean? The hair's not going to evaporate. It's just not going to look beautiful as long as it should, right? And then here's our hair under the microscope. And we do this as a quality control measure. You can see our cuticles are fully intact. Kind of looks like pasta, basically. So we randomly pull hair out of every shipment. We get a shipment about every week. We pull hair out of it. We throw it under the microscope. We examine it and make sure that it's good. And if there's any issue with the hair, with the color or the wefting, we'll send the hair back. So we're not screwing around with trying to sell hair that's not up to par. So here's the same deal. We're still talking about top 10% sourcing and quality. Our blonde hair comes from Slavic donors in Eastern Europe. So that's Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia. And the benefit of that is, I mean, we don't dye Asian hair blonde, and there's a couple reasons for that. Dyeing Asian, first of all, Asian hair has a 30% larger strand diameter than Caucasian hair. So it's very obvious when you put Asian hair into a Caucasian girl's head where her hair ends and the extensions start, because it's just a different texture. So that's the main thing. Second issue is to dye jet black hair platinum blonde has to sit in peroxide for a significant amount of time. It basically burns the cuticles off. So the hair is super compromised. So that's why we do blonde with blonde. Our darker shades more or less come from India, where they're donated to the temple for religious purposes, and the money goes to the temple. So that's the most ethical way to source hair. But again, we measure the hair for all of those specs: tensile strength, average strand diameter, pH, porosity level, moisture content. So that's the main thing. Previously, the main thing that distinguished us from everybody else on the market is that we got really into the weeds on how we collect hair. And that's kind of, I mean, it's still a special thing about us. We have been through a few different factories since we started. Some are better than others, but then I went to China and I visited every factory. And it took me a few days to get to this place. And there's only one flight in and one flight out a day. And I spent some time there, and I went to every single factory, and I made a deal with the very best factory, I believe, in the world. And we made this deal, it was back in end of October of 24. So we've started getting hair from these guys, and this is, we've transitioned over. We got our coloring made with them. Previously, we weren't big enough to work with these guys, and they have huge minimum order quantities. And so, and they don't do whatever I want. But they're very meticulous. They have over 100 quality control checks in their factory. The factory floor, I mean, they're all the floors in this factory are marble. They're spotless. It's an incredibly impressive facility. So with this move to this new factory, our costs have gone up about 25%, but the wefting and the coloring are going to be perfect because they're so meticulous. So now we have the best hair, we have the best coloring, and we have the best wefting. So with our new hair out of our new factory, nobody can touch us. We're really, all of the three elements of hair extensions we've got dialed in right now. So that's the other thing that now we're like, before we sourced and had the very best hair, which I mean that was a fact. But now we're dealing with a factory that is extremely meticulous. And this factory, we're their only North American client. They mainly sell in Europe and in Australia. So we're incredibly lucky to be working with this factory. And I think that your customers are going to be very pleased about it. Here we go. We got accessories, all the different kinds, everything that you would need for hair extensions. We offer expertise in all installation methods. So we've got tons of great educators if you guys ever want to do that. We do lengths ranging from 16 to 28. And with this new factory, we're actually going to be phasing out the 18 and 22-inch lengths, particularly in machine weft. Just because the minimum order quantities are so high, it's cost prohibitive to carry all of those different lengths. So we're going to be carrying 16, 20, 24, and 28-inch in machine weft. Haven't decided what we're going to do about Genius Weft yet, but also with the Butterfly Weft, we're going to be doing 16, 20, and 24. We have education certification programs, free shipping and returns, hair display and merchandising solutions, unmatched quality and customer service, and exclusivity for licensed stylists. So we don't sell to consumers. We only sell, I mean, well, we sell to you guys, but generally speaking, we don't sell to consumers. We only sell to salons and stylists. You need a Cosmo license to see the pricing on our website. And we do that to be loyal to our main customers, which are salon and stylists. So education, we've got actually this is only 6 of them. We got a list of educators. Everybody wants to be an educator. How it works is it's $600 per student or $650 per student if you want to include a color ring. Normally, we need minimum 6 students in order for us to send an educator from Austin, which we can fly them to wherever, but we need usually 6 students to cover our costs. The $650 generally is for sew-ins, and that would include Genius machine hand-tied or like anything that you need to sew in. That's $650, and it comes with a toolkit. It comes with a plaque. It comes with practice hair. It comes with clips, grippers. Hold on, let me see if we have a picture of everything it comes with. There's the toolkit. It comes with everything that they would need to do the education. We also have an option for $1,000 a student, which is a 2-day class. We'll teach them every method. And when they graduate, they get a plaque like this that can go on their station. And if you scan this little QR code, it takes you to a landing page on our website that teaches people about hair extensions. So if a stylist has a client in their chair and they're sitting there with foils and they're like, hey, what's this? They can scan this and it'll take them to our website and teach them about hair extensions and maybe they want to get them. We also recently started doing online education. We've got both. I mean, so far, I think we have 3 tutorials up on our website for sale. We're going to try and film one every week. We've got some really basic ones like Waterfall method, tape and K-tips. Those are kind of basic certification ones. We're working on a Butterfly Weft one, which we shot. We're just getting edited. But we're also going to get into some super advanced stuff. Like, for example, we have one where one of our stylists teaches how to dye hair extensions or color them. So we're going to continue to get into more and more advanced stuff with our online education too. Just to summarize that, 6 students, we can send an educator. Otherwise, we got online education. And we also run classes at our warehouse every month if anyone ever wants to come to Austin.
I think it's a really cool opportunity. Obviously, you guys know Austin is an incredible city. So if you want to get a team of your stylists to fly out there,
we have one usually every month at our warehouse. When stylists come to our warehouse, they don't leave. So like we had some stylists come here on Friday and it was a busy day, but they stayed for like 3 hours. What you'll learn: hair selection, choosing the best quality of hair, weft and method selection, tailoring the approach to the client's needs, client consultation, advising on maintenance and care, color matching techniques to match the client's hair perfectly, pricing strategies, how to make the most amount of profit, and business growth, expanding your service offering. So this is what students will learn in our education. And it's taught by, like, most of our master stylists make several $100,000 a year doing extensions, and they only do extensions. So they're basically mentoring newbies on, hey, here's the best practice to make the most amount of money. So our education is really good value. Ours is $1,000 if you want to do every method. But generally speaking, it's $600 or $650 if the coloring's included for one method. And we found the best results with that because it's still a full day and it's a lot of information to digest anyways. So what's new and what's coming up? So this is the Butterfly Weft, which we're very excited about because it reduces the installation time down to 15 minutes per row. And you really don't need to be that talented to install it, to be honest. She's clipping on the Butterfly Weft. She flips it up to expose these holes here. And then she's using a crochet hook to pull hair through these little holes. And she pulled hair through all the little holes, and she's making sure it's in the right position. And then there's a couple more pulls here. She's going to take 2 of those strands, and she's going to throw a bead on them. And she's going to crimp it. And then she's going to repeat the process across the entire weft. So you guys can see all the strands have beads on them there. And then she unclips the hair and she just folds it back over. And here we go. Done. And it's kind of like the invisible bead method because the beads are hidden between the two flaps of hair. And it literally took her 15 minutes to do that. So that we did during the tutorial, we installed 2 rows and it took her half an hour. So it's significantly faster than traditional stow-ins. The model said she couldn't even feel it. And we're the only brand that's doing this with really good hair. So this is like, we didn't invent this method, but up until now, it's been very like kind of TikTok, like direct from Chinese trading companies like Amazon garbage hair. So we're the first brand to do it that has a really good hair behind it. And I'm really excited about this because, well, a couple of reasons. It's more profitable for the stylist because it's quicker. They could probably charge maybe the same for the install and argue that they had to take education or they had to learn this new method. Or they could charge less for the install and charge more for the weft, or they could just charge less for the whole service and get more people into their chair. So there's a lot of reasons why this is a good method for that purpose. And secondly, I mean, like my wife always complains that she doesn't want to spend 4 hours sitting in the chair to get her extensions done. So this is really quick and slick, half an hour in the chair, done. And it's just as good as a sew-in weft would be. So we're real excited about this. That's the Butterfly Weft. Currently, we have it in 6 colors, which are 6 most popular colors, but we're in the process of ordering in every color, and it's available in 16 inch, 20 inch currently, but we're going to be ordering 24 inch too. So we're excited about that. I'm going to stop sharing here for a sec and show you guys something else. This is the other thing that we're coming out that's new, and we're calling these forever tapes. And basically, it's just a big tape in. So if you take this tape off, you clip the hair up, and then you go boom, and you've installed hair extensions in literally 1 minute. So, and then you'd flip the hair down. And this replacement tape is very inexpensive, and you can cut this into the size of a traditional tape. So we think that this is going to overtake traditional tapes. And again, we're one of the first brands, I mean, maybe the first brand to do this with really good hair. So we actually got a shipment of these on Friday in number 80 blonde. So we don't have this in all the colors yet, but we do have it in number 80 blonde available for sale as of today. And we're excited about that too, because between these two weft options, like we're basically providing stylists with tools to make more money. And that's really the business what we're in. We're in the business of helping stylists make money. And this reduces the amount of time that they have to do installs and arguably more comfortable for the users too. So those are 2 innovations that we're coming out with, or that we're in the process of coming out with from our new factory, that I think are going to be something that your clients will be very interested in. It's definitely a reason to get in touch with them. I'm sure that they've heard of these different products through TikTok or different things. And I think you're going to see positive reaction when you mention it to them, that oh, I've seen that before, but it wasn't available to me. So it will be now. I'd say like about 85% of our sales are 50-50 professional blend, just because it's I mean, it's more palatable in terms of pricing, and it's actually still significantly better than everything else on the market, because half of it is single donor virgin hair. It's better than everyone else who's selling Remy cuticle hair. And I don't know if we went over this, but Remy hair is human hair. Remy cuticle hair is human hair that's been cuticle aligned. So, but it's been sold to stylists as a premium product when in fact it's not. It's a heavily processed product. But when you go to stylists and they say, well, it better be Remy cuticle hair, it's kind of funny because they've been educated that that's a really great product, but actually it's not. Whereas virgin hair, single donor virgin hair, is really like where the good hair starts to happen. Remy cuticle hair is very mid-grade. Okay, so Genius Weft replaced hand tied. Hand tied was previously a weft that was very thin, but it was woven. And the problem with the hand tied is when you cut it, like let's say you had a 20-inch weft and you needed 13 inches to get on the client's head, so you'd have to cut 7 inches off. You had to glue the ends or it would unravel. So, and in addition to that, you had to fold it a couple times too, so it was kind of bulky. So it's been replaced by Genius Weft, which is the same style of weft, except instead of being woven, there's a layer of polyurethane at the top. The benefit of this is you can cut this and it won't unravel. It also dries faster, lays flatter, and it's a more elegant solution than a machine tied, which is a very thick weft. So that's the Genius Weft, but it's still a sew-in weft, so it's still labor intensive. Whereas the Butterfly Weft is significantly less labor intensive than the Genius Weft. So I think that the Butterfly Weft is probably going to overtake the Genius Weft in the long run. But there are benefits to the Genius Weft. It's more customizable. You get less hair with a Genius Weft than you would with a machine weft. So if you guys can see here, 16-inch Genius Weft, you get 60 grams. Whereas a 16-inch machine weft, you get 120 grams. You get double as much hair with the machine weft. The weft on a machine weft is extremely thick. So they're best for people who have really thick hair. If the person has very thin hair, this is going to be real obvious. It's like 2.5 times the thickness of the Genius Weft, but you get way more hair with the machine weft. So it's better value in that sense. Tape in, they're generally about 2 inches wide, and you tape them into the hair. It's kind of a cheesy method. It's very popular with like weddings and that kind of stuff. Tape in vivids. So we have hair in fluorescent colors. And the idea behind that is in case somebody wants a pop of color, then instead of having to take a section of hair, bleach it, and then dye it, we can just throw some vivid extensions in. And it's quick and slick, and it's very profitable for the stylist. And we actually did the vivids more as a marketing stunt for social media, but it turned out that it's a very good upsell for stylists. At the end of a consultation, if somebody wants a pop of color, or if there's a particular holiday coming up, or a particular team that they support, there's a bunch of reasons why people would get color in there. And actually, we've had a lot of luck selling these to, we made a deal with this company called Sit Still Kids. It's like a chain of kid salons, and they've really jumped into the vivid. So they're upselling it to kids now so they can get different fluorescent hair. We do the vivids in half packs. So typically K-tips come 25 pieces to a pack, but we did the vivids in half packs. So you actually get 10 K-tips in a pack or 10 tape-ins, or we have a multi-pack which has 2 of each different color. iTips and K-tips, we still have a lot of iTip in inventory, but I'm toying with the notion of phasing iTips out in lieu of some of these newer methods where I think there's a lot more demand and they're a lot more beneficial. iTips is not a great method. Basically what it is hair is attached to like a shoelace end. So there's a cylinder that looks like a shoelace end at the end of it. So it's kind of like a piece of, instead of a shoelace, it would be hair attached to one of those plastic ends, and you'd feed that end through a bead and you'd crimp it. So when people get iTips, they've got all these like little plastic shoelace ends in their hair. It's not the best method. K-tips, on the other hand, is a great method. And with K-tips, it's keratin bond. And again, we use the best keratin polymer available, which comes from Switzerland. And you can cut the ends of the K-tips to create what's called micro K-tips. So you could fill in on the sides of the head where there's thinner hair. K-tips is a very legitimate method. Some people do their whole head in K-tips. Some people just do the fill-in areas with K-tips. And actually the hybrid of using a Genius Weft around the back and doing K-tips around the side of the head is a very effective hybrid method. We're working on expanding our accessories all the time. We have way more than this.
This is Chris. I detailed with Bob a while ago, and it was very educational, and I've done a lot with these wefts. The hair is wonderful. Everybody feels it and loves it, and I've had no complaints selling it so far, so I highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you.
Bob is the real deal. He's detailed. He's not only the owner, but he's working in the field with you guys. He's trying to grow his brand. Everything that he's saying is legitimate. He is going through the sources to find the best hair. It's very exciting because all the hair that we've sold, there's been little to no problems. And if there is a small problem, Bob and his wife have fixed it within 3 days. I think Kristen could attest that. It is phenomenal to work with them. The quality is unbelievable. So, I know Dennis has worked with Bob, Lee, Tara, Becky, a few of you that have sold more extensions in the past. We wanted you guys to work with them, and everything that you guys have said and happened in the field has been glowing remarks. So, appreciate all the support.
Well, thank you guys. And actually, I think that, with the new factory, we're going to see even better response to the hair. just because the few like issues that we've had, I think those are going to get cut down by at least 80% because the new factory is just over the top meticulous, which is exactly what the type of thing that we need. Okay, so this is the waterfall method. And you can see here that she put one bead in horizontally, right? And she's going to take a section of that hair and she's going to, I don't know if she's talking about it, but what she's going to do is grab a section of that and marry it to the next bead section. So she's going to pull some more hair from the head here. She's going to pull another section. Okay, she's really taking her time. And then she's going to connect those two sections together and put a bead on that. So basically with the waterfall method, what you're doing is creating a horizontal substrate in order that you can sew into, right? So she's going to create basically like on African American people, they braid this way so that they have something to sew into. But for our purposes, they're going to use beads instead of braids, and they're going to make a horizontal line around her crown of her head that you can sew into. And it just creates more, like particularly towards the front of the head, there's more to anchor into. Now, I'll show you what straight bead looks like here. So she's doing straight beads. See, she's just putting one bead and it's creating those little sections. What she's going to do is sew behind those little sections. That's the straight bead method. And the straight bead method is faster and it's better for people with thicker hair. The benefit of it too is to do a move up. You just need to uncrimp the beads, slide them up and recrimp them. So it's very quick to do the move ups. Whereas with the waterfall, you got to take the whole thing out and reinstall it. The benefit of doing the waterfall, taking it out and reinstalling it is the extensions are going to be attached to new hair, which is better for the hair. Because with a straight bead, if you keep moving it up on the same hair, you're going to be really stressing that hair out. And that can cause alopecia. And if it's done too tight, that can cause problems. The waterfall is a more sophisticated method than the straight bead. Some people do hybrid where they'll do straight bead on the back and waterfall on the sides. That makes tons of sense too, because that gives more of an anchor on the sides of the head, which is always a problem for sewing the wefts. Both methods are legit, and we teach both methods in our sewing class. So just so you guys know, those are the two kind of general methods. And then there's invisible bead method and all sorts of weird methods. But once you understand straight bead and waterfall, you understand how to do hair extensions, and you can kind of get super advanced from there. There's a bunch of different methods that you can get into from there. But for all intents and purposes, those are the two main methods, and we teach both of them in our sewing class. The butterfly method is stupid easy, and we do have a tutorial, which I think we're going to charge $99 for. But literally, you could just watch our Instagram and figure out how to do it, like in 1 minute. It's that easy. So, which is great. I mean, it's interesting because some of the stylists who we deal with don't like the butterfly weft, and I think it kind of threatens their specialization because now anybody can do extensions and do them real quick. But I think in the long run, it's going to get more people into extensions, so it'll be good for all of us. If they want to come for 2 days to the warehouse, then we'll teach them every method. And they really drink the Kool-Aid when they come here because we have, well, all the hairs here. We have like a little retail section. It's kind of like Disneyland for stylists. Like they really love it because there's a ton of hair here. And they can really get into the nuances of like everything to do with hair extensions. So sending them here is a really great way for them to get into the brand. And anybody who travels here and takes the education is like usually tends to become an extremely loyal customer. And where we're located too is like we're actually technically in Austin, but we're kind of in what's called Hill Country. And this is like the wedding capital of Texas, in where we are in Hill Country. And there's tons of breweries and distilleries right around where our warehouse is. So it's a really cool area. There's lots of live music and stuff. Like it's a worthy experience to come out here.
Okay.
And you can experience all that and like barbecue, and then also get into the hair stuff. So it's
Cool.
The stylists who we have teaching are like born to be stylists, and they really are passionate about it and are knowledgeable. And it's like learning karate from Mr. Miyagi. It's worthy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend coming to the warehouse if you can, and you get the full Beauvoir experience.
This is
Hey,
Tara.
Tara. How's it going?
We're getting K-tips as we speak.
Okay, good stuff.
Say hello.
Hi.
These are 18-inch. I can't remember. I think the number 2 pin. What? I can't. Nor. And then check this out.
Oh, you got some of the Vivids.
Nice.
Yeah,
The
they're
Vivid Ombre.
vivid.
Cool.
They're vivid.
Yeah, awesome. Those are going to look good on you.
Just wanted to pop in and say hello.
Can you tell us what Beauvoir means, I guess?
So yeah, it's a French word and it means beautiful look. When we first started the company, the hair, it was called Remy hair. But the problem was we couldn't trademark Remy hair. So that's like trying to trademark the word table. So we came up with Beauvoir, and we managed to trademark the word Beauvoir. So not just Beauvoir hair extensions, but we actually own the rights to the word Beauvoir. So it means beautiful look in French, and yeah, and you can pronounce it however you want. A lot of people in the South pronounce it Beauvoir. I pronounce it Beauvoir. I've had a lot of success selling to salons and stylists, leading with education, which like, hey, let me enlighten you on how this product's manufactured. Because I guarantee that the hair rep for any other brand, if you went in there and asked them, hey, what's the tensile strength of your hair? They're not even going to know what you're talking about. They're going to have no idea what that even means or how to measure it or what an acceptable parameter would be, right? Or if you said, hey, what's the pH balance of your hair? They're not going to know what you're talking about. Or what's the average strand diameter of your hair? They've never measured it. They've never looked into it. They've never known. So if you can go to stylists with this information and also an information on how the product's manufactured, your credibility goes up significantly right off rip, because no one else has ever done that. Everybody else has come in and told them, hey, this is premium Remy Cuticle, and like, look at this shiny marketing material. And you know, and they're very expensive, so there's a perceived value there, but they really don't know what they're selling in detail. And I guarantee that most of those hair reps have never been to a hair extension factory or, you know, or ever sourced hair or anything like that. I know that they haven't. So that's a huge advantage, I think, for all of us, is to come in with a little bit of information on, hey, here's how the product's manufactured. So it gives them reference on here. Oh, that's how they're making it, and that's how this is made. It's a very comprehensive way to explain the difference of what we're selling versus what everybody else is selling. Because everybody else is selling the same thing, Remy Cuticle hair, with different marketing and different price points attached to it. That's literally what it is. Nobody is selling a single donor virgin hair or a 50-50 blend. Nobody knows why that's important. Nobody's looked at it under a microscope to see what it looks like. So I like you said, Lee, that's definitely the way to sell it, is to go in and explain the difference between Remy Cuticle hair, single donor virgin hair, explain how 50-50 fits in the middle, explain how Remy Cuticle hair is manufactured. They run it through a wood chipper to press it. I mean, they forcibly press the hair into alignment, and it's very damaging to the hair. So and then stylists, like you said, they're going to have an aha moment where they're like, hey, that actually happened to me, or that happens to me when the client comes back for their move up, the hair looks like crap. Why is that? And it's like, that is the client been abusing the hair? No, it's because the hair is compromised from the get-go. So, which is really the truth of it. It should last quite a while, particularly if they're using a good quality shampoo. They're not going to bed with wet hair. They're brushing the hair on a regular basis. They're not using too much heat on the hair. Like, there's a bunch of ways to screw the hair up.
Yeah.
But if they are good at taking care of the hair, it should last for quite a while. And to the point where it's not that the hair isn't good anymore, it's just that they want to change it up.